Assuming that money is not an option, or I mean, not a...
Mm-hmm. Assuming money is not an option. Yep. Real life. Okay.
Welcome to My Hill to Die On, episode 73.
Everyone has things they are passionate about.
Things we want our friends to try and experience.
So we've convinced each other to try different things.
And we talk about these experiences to see if we can just get one more person
to join us on our hill to die on. So Ryan and I went to a baseball game in Japan where no Japanese people played.
You mean you didn't leave the country to go to a baseball game?
Nope. I've been to one or two other baseball games in Japan at professional level or higher, and it's pretty fun stuff. I kind of like Japan for baseball games because, is it me or I think they have better chants? Or is it just that they're different chants, right? I mean, I guess we got the organ stuff going at baseball stadiums in America, right? But in Japan, they got a lot more chants and like noise banging thingies. I guess it's not that the crowd is more into it. I think that the crowd is just differently into it, right?
I don't know. I would actually say that it seems that there's more of a kind of... I think the only thing I can think of is team spirit.
Well, I was wondering if it's more group team spirit, right? I think that's where it is, right?
Yeah. It's more unified.
Yes, it's a unified team spirit thing, right? Where America is individual cheering, which grows and swells well, but in Japan, everybody's doing the exact same thing. So it just swells differently because it's pretty uniform as opposed to just general noise. So anyway, it's quite fun. I've enjoyed baseball games in Japan, but I haven't been to a baseball game in quite a while. My daughters don't really know baseball, and it was something that I at least want to introduce them to, right? And they don't have to, doesn't have to be their favorite, doesn't have to be great, but I at least want to introduce them to it. And the school subscribes to cable. I get the cable magazine every month, and on the cover it was like, oh, hey, there's this World Baseball Classic thing happening, and we're showing it on cable. You should watch it on cable. I'm like, oh, World Baseball Classic. That's interesting. Where are they playing? And the preliminary rounds, or at least one of the pools, was being played here in Tokyo. So I was like, oh, what's the schedule? I took a look, and every day the Japanese team was playing, it was a more expensive seat anywhere in the stadium because you're paying for the whole day, even if there's a doubleheader. And the Japanese team is only playing once, but you're paying for the seat for the whole day. So it's more expensive and more than I wanted to pay to introduce my daughters to baseball, right? It's not an expensive seat, I don't think, but it's more than I wanted to pay for introducing my daughters to baseball. But there happened to be one day where the Japanese team wasn't playing and the Korean team was, which is what I was, the Korean team. We'd like to root for the Korean team because my family is half Korean. So I was like, we'll take that day. And it's free seating, which was great. Just pay a small amount of money comparatively. And you can sit anywhere in the stadium you want. So I was like, yep, we'll do that, thanks. So I bought tickets for my whole family because everybody was pretty interested in at least experiencing it, which I was pleased about. For a little while, my oldest daughter was like, should I go? At the time, she was like, oh, does she need to miss practice? That was a big thing. If she had to miss her sports practice, she didn't really want to go. But we were able to work it out that she didn't have to miss practice because I took some of my daughters early and then my wife came with my oldest daughter toward the end. And that worked out well because they arrived just before the game started. So that worked out pretty perfectly. Because it was free seating then, I did decide to go as early as possible. So pretty much as soon as the school day ended here, I jetted off with my youngest two daughters and we got seats as close as we could. And we were pretty close. We were only like maybe 5 rows away. We were only 5 rows away from the edge, like pretty much looking right at first base, looking straight down to second base. So we were right there, quite nice and close to all the action in the Tokyo Dome. Sorry, that was a big thing. Yes, we were in the Tokyo Dome, which is a very nice indoor stadium. I think it's home to the Yomiuri Giants, I think. Although I was looking at the schedule and there do happen to be games where the Yomiuri Giants aren't playing. So that's a little confusing to me. Yeah, the stadium system in Japan is not the same system as in America. I get confused about that sometimes. Because mostly companies own the teams, but they do claim a home stadium. I guess there are team owners in America too, but they're not called by the team owners. They're called by the city where they play. So it's interesting. Anyway, so we had a great time watching Korea play China in the pool round. And Korea just demolished China. In fact, there was a great mercy rule where if you're leading by 20 at the bottom of the 5th, the game ends early, which was the case. The game ended early, which was good because it was getting quite late. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is a school night. So we got to get back. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to go to a Japanese baseball game. In fact, interesting because there was no Japanese. Yes, they weren't doing Japanese chants, but the Korean side was the first base side. So we sat on the Korean side and they had a number of good chants too. I much enjoyed the Korean chants. And it seemed like there was a guy like 2 rows back from me that would start almost all of them. And then everybody else would just join in right after him. He was great. I much enjoyed him. So I had lots of fun. I took some cameras and took some pictures, but I just had fun with my daughters. So here's one interesting thing. I'm a stats detailed number oriented person, right?
What?
You know, you've known this of me. And so what I did was, to prepare for this, I printed out some baseball score sheets and then taught my daughters as part of the experience, right? Because, okay, what's a single? What's a double? What's a triple? What's walk? How many strikes? How many balls, right? Because again, they're learning a lot of this from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
So even in teaching them that, it's like, okay, we're going to keep score on our own little scorecard here. So that worked out quite fun. Of course, the people sitting behind us were like, what are those papers for? Like, oh, we're keeping score. It was good that we arrived early because they had listed the whole starting lineup on the big screen. We wrote it all down, got all the papers all set up, and then we just kept score right after that. So, yep, my youngest daughter lost interest halfway through, which was fine. She made a good attempt, but my middle daughter kept interest the whole time, and she kept good score. So that was quite nice. But yeah, after we were winning 25-3? Oh, I forget what it was. It was something huge like that. It was like, okay, we don't have to keep score anymore. We've definitely won.
I don't know. They could have made a really big comeback.
Well, there was an inning, I think it was the 3rd inning, where 8 of the 9 batters for Korea all scored a run or all came in. I think one of them had gotten out somewhere because there was like 10 or so at bats, but 8 of the 9 runners had all come in. Yeah, there was a few innings where more than 9 batters came up to bat. So that makes it harder on the scorebook too.
How would that make you feel if you were the one person in your entire team who didn't score in that inning?
Yeah, he got on base though. I think he got out in the double play. I think that's what it was. It wasn't his fault. I think he got out in the double play that helped end the inning. Or it was a double play and then there was a fly out or something like that.
Yeah, I was just thinking, oh man, how would you feel if you were the only one in your entire team? Like, oh, I'm the one holding the team back. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm glad you had fun. You did show me some pictures, including the one where you got on the big screen.
Oh, yes, that's right. We did get on the big screen. That was pretty good. Took a picture of that right away.
I saw you taking a picture of you on the big screen picture.
Fortunately, the camera that was showing us on the big screen must have been just below the big screen. So we're all looking at the screen, which is helpful, right?
Yeah.
It's not like one of the side cameras showing you on the big screen. So when you're looking at the screen, you're not facing the camera. So luckily, we're basically facing the camera underneath the big screen. So that worked out well for us.
It seemed like a very fun picture because I saw you and your entire family on the big screen. Well, I think there was one daughter who was hidden behind somebody else.
Yeah, hidden, yeah.
But your family on the big screen and then you standing there with a giant camera. I've noticed you've had a lot of big cameras lately.
Yeah.
Because I keep coming into the office and I'm just like, I'm going to get to work. And as I walk in, there's some giant monstrosity of a camera sitting on the center table again.
Yep. I've gone back and forth on this. I have owned some cameras in the past. Actually, we talked about last time. And one of the special gifts I got was that battery grip for my Canon 20D, right?
Yeah.
So I've messed around with big cameras. I like photography. I'm not excellent at it. I think I mentioned that last time too. I like the technical side of it. I'm not as good at the artsy side, which is unfortunate, but I like the technical side and I do okay with photos.
You do better than me.
Yeah, well, I try hard. So I do okay because I try hard.
I just don't try. All 30 of my pictures from this past year.
All 30 of your iPhone pictures?
Yes.
And see, that's the thing, right? I had that 20D and I enjoyed it. And that was the nicest thing at the time. But then phone cameras kept getting better. And I was like, yeah, I'm just not good enough to warrant paying for or buying another big camera. I'm just not really good enough at it. Well, the school has purchased a number of big cameras over the years. And we're probably getting to the point now where some of our purchases are getting older, and that means they're just more open for me to borrow and use. And we've also purchased some really nice big cameras. that reside in a tech office, which I can also just borrow and use. Those two truths are both happening. So there's just more big cameras available for me to use. And there's two kinds of big cameras we have. We have a set of Micro Four Thirds cameras because they are fairly cheap and still produce very good pictures. I've been very pleased with the quality of pictures they produce. They're on the smaller side, so there's a bunch of benefits of Micro Four Thirds, but it's got a small sensor, so it's not great in dark environments. They're not as fast in a few other fancy things, but you know what? They're decent. And because we needed to buy some more video cameras, we actually purchased some nice Sony Alpha A7 IVs, and they're very nice, but they're full frame, they're very large, very expensive cameras with very expensive lenses. But the school bought them, and we are taking very nice videos with them. So, it goes round and round. It's very nice, very nice, very nice, but they're also very big. Compared to the travelness of an iPhone, for sure. They're just humongous, right?
Well, anything compared to the travelness of an iPhone.
Well, and I made a joke because actually my wife got me something for Christmas because, again, I was at another point in my thought process where I'm like, I'm giving up on big cameras. I can't afford it. I'm not going to do it. So I had my wife buy me a clamp grip for my iPhone that has a shutter button on it. So it just clamps on the back of your case, makes it feel like a camera because it's got a grip just like a camera has a grip and a shutter button on top of that grip. And that's actually pretty handy. I got to say, it was fun. I mean, one of the Disney trips I took, I put the grip on the phone and it worked perfectly for most of the pictures I was taking. So I enjoyed that. It's a pretty nice thing because it basically makes your phone feel like a real camera. You're still not getting the benefits of real cameras, but it makes your phone feel like it. The biggest thing to me was it made my phone more available to take photos right away. Because one of the things I like about having a big camera is that, generally speaking, I have it strapped on my hand most of the time when I'm using it. So it's available to take photos. So having the grip on my phone made my phone stay in camera mode most of the time. Therefore, I was available to take more photos. So I liked that, as opposed to my phone just being in my pocket so that I could be with my family. Because again, taking your phone out is not always a good thing. Having it in camera mode all the time, though, strapped to my hand was beneficial. So I enjoyed that. So yeah, I've gone back and forth on this. Back when I had my Canon 20D, I had a whole workflow because that was all you could do back then, right? You didn't have phone cameras. So I had a workflow. I would download the photos from my card. I'd organize them on my hard drive. I'd then get them printed and blah, blah, blah. I've talked about this over time, right? I had a whole workflow. Now with phone cameras, I have a whole nother workflow that's much easier. Basically, my phone just uploads the photos to the server every night that it took. And then I don't have to worry about it. It just backs itself up, organizes itself. I don't have to do anything. It's wonderful. Or I have to do the minimal amount of organizing that I like to do on the other end when I organize photos. A real camera is a pain in the neck. You have to take the card out, download the photos, put them where you want, blah, blah, blah. You have to have a process, right? And over the last break, I finally worked out a procedure for the photos I take from these cameras. I finally now have it worked out where I download them to my computer. I have a little checklist I work through and I get them all filed, and I can do it pretty quickly now that I know what the list is. I think the biggest problem was the list of things to do was quite nebulous for too long. Which server do I have to back it up to? Which server do I copy it to? The list was too nebulous. So now I have a finite list. You do this, 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 and this. And because the list is pretty finite, I can open up all of those server locations, save all the files in the right spot pretty quickly, and be done. And I've now practiced that process a few times because I've gone to a few more basketball games and things like that. It has worked very well.
I'm glad.
So I think I'm going to allow myself to get back into big cameras a little bit because I can borrow the school's big cameras.
Rather than needing to fork out like $3,000 for your own.
Right. But I think another thing that surprised me is I think that I have really started leaning toward using the Micro Four Thirds cameras more than the big Sony camera, the A7 IV. Which, I mean, the A7 IV is an amazing camera. I enjoy using it. It takes amazing pictures. The autofocus is sharp all the time. Oh, it's wonderful.
So for, I don't know, the occasional listener who has no idea what kind of cameras these are, can you describe a little bit of the differences?
Sure. The A7 IV is basically the same size as big single lens reflex cameras used to be. I mean, I think it's probably slightly smaller. I think the people would say it's probably slightly smaller. But the lenses that you stick on the end of it are fairly large. They're fairly large lenses. I would say that the lens is at least, 6 inches, 15 centimeters long, and the diameter is between 4 and 5 inches, so between 10 and 12 centimeters wide at the front. So the lenses themselves are heavy and big. I mean, we can buy smaller lenses, but they are very fast lenses, meaning have a faster shutter. They allow you to get a lot of depth of field, which is, again, one of the benefits of big cameras compared to an iPhone. An iPhone, you take a picture, almost everything's in focus. Everything in the front, everything in the back. There's little separation, which is why they have the portrait mode setting to separate the foreground from the background. But again, the portrait mode is a computational thing and often doesn't quite do it right, especially with girls with frilly hair. Well, my girls don't have frilly hair, but they've got little strands of hair peeking out in different spots, so it doesn't work well with that, whereas it works perfectly on a big camera. So that's an A7 IV. It's very nice. It's very fast in focusing and in taking shots. It's wonderful. In fact, I have it slowed down because I don't like how fast it, otherwise I'll get too many photos. I click the shutter button, it goes click, 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 click. It goes very quickly. So I slow it down so that I can not have too many in the end. And a Micro Four Thirds camera, the one I'm using now, is an EM10 Mark III. So it is not a very expensive camera at all. You can get the used body here in Japan for like 3 mon. For the value that it provides, it is a very good value. For 3 mon to get a body, that's amazing. And then we've purchased some nicer lenses because we can share these lenses with one of our video cameras. So we've purchased some quite nice fast lenses that are $1,000 or more. And then we have some cheaper ones too. Yeah, we have a few lenses because we can share them with the video camera. So it's quite nice to use these lenses in both places. Which is one of the reasons why I liked Micro Four Thirds too, because we have a Blackmagic cinema camera also, so we can share the lenses with that camera. So another reason to go to Micro Four Thirds. But yeah, the EM10 Mark III is a great camera. I think really compared to the Alpha 7, I mean, colors are slightly different, but the Olympus does a very good job. The Sony does an amazing job. The biggest problem with the Olympus is autofocus. Because I got used to the A7's autofocus tracking, I was like, oh, look, I have never had the focus tracking turned on the Olympus. And I was like, oh, I forgot it has that setting. Let me give it a try. So I tried it over the last break when I was with my family on vacation. And I realized, oh my goodness, this stinks. This tracking feature stinks. It hunts all the time. It's like, oh, is it in focus? Am I in focus? Oh, I'm not really in focus. Let me try again. And then it tries again. It's like, no, I'm not quite in focus. Let me try again. And I was like, oh my goodness, just settle out of focus already. So I've turned that right off. So I'm back to center focus. The center focus on the Olympus is good enough. It is not as nice as the tracking feature on the Sony, but it is good enough. As long as I continue to be a practiced photographer, and as long as I keep not making my own mistakes, I think I can make it work. But I think one of the things that I like actually about center focus, which is, again, something I've been trying to figure out, is these cameras take much higher resolution images than I'm used to in general. Not amazing. I mean, the Olympus is, I think it's only 12 megapixel. It's not very large. The Sony is amazing. I think it's 33 megapixel. But, growing up with, 5 megapixel phone cameras, where basically the crop you're taking is the crop you're going to have to go with if you're going to blow it up for anything big, because the megapixel count is so small, that I've gotten better at crafting the photo in my shot. And with these big cameras, I really don't have to do that as much for 2 reasons I have found where I've gotten in trouble now. Places where I want to use my pictures now are either on my iPhone home screen or on the school's website. For pictures I take for school, I want to use the school's website, and my iPhone home screen for most of my personal stuff. And both of those places, because of the way the school's website needs to be responsive for mobile phone designs and things like that, the subject needs to be dead center. And for your iPhone home screen, the subject needs to be dead center with lots of headroom so that you can fit the clock right above their head. So you want to take the subject pretty much dead center all the time, which is not something I'm trained to do. I'm trained to use the rule of thirds and put the subject off to the left or to the right, and one of those things. So now I'm having to get used to putting the subject dead center, and I'm still not quite as good at that. I'm still working to get better at that and leave lots of headroom and lots of space around for later cropping instead of cropping when I'm taking the photo in the first place. I've struggled to get used to that. I need to get used to that better. A lot of talk about big cameras.
Yeah, it's good.
They take amazing photos, though. I gave the camera to my wife during winter break because we went to a dilapidated amusement park again. But I had a good time because one of the rides there is pretty new. And we were trying out that new ride. And I gave my camera to my wife to take all the photos because she decided she didn't want to ride on that ride. And she took some amazing photos. I said, just point and shoot. And yes, some of them were out of focus, but most of them were right on. And they were just great photos. I had stuck a prime lens on there with enough zoom that she could get to where we were, and it worked very nicely. That's such a nice lens, that prime lens too. So very pleased. I am choosing the camera that costs $300 over the camera that costs $3,000, mostly because of size. I just can't carry that Sony around with me. Oh, it's huge.
Yeah, but you need it for certain events.
Mm-hmm. And it's great for video, right? For the stuff we're doing at school for video, it's wonderful. It's way smaller than the other cameras we have for video.
Mm-hmm.
So it beats it. But for photos and stuff, and I'll use it for sports photos at school too.
It's the difference between the you're traveling around kind of photos and you're sitting kind of photos.
Yes. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
For the sitting photos, the more expensive camera sounds like it's the go-to.
Yes, I would agree with that. Mm-hmm. But for traveling around everyday photos.
If you're traveling around going to Disney 12 times in a year, you're not going to carry that thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's pretty much it. I have taken the Olympus with me to Disney, and it does pretty well there. A lot of the rides get dark, and in those situations, my iPhone will do a better job. But still, most of the stuff at Disney's outdoors, so the Olympus does a great job.
So lately, Keith of My Hill to Die On fame.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad we're making other people famous. I know. I don't want to be famous myself, but let's keep making other people famous.
But yeah, our previous guest, Keith Kelleth, who was our DM a couple of episodes ago, and a couple of other people, we decided to get together on Thursday evenings. We have been playing a legacy game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you had mentioned this earlier, right? This is the game where you draw on the board?
No, this is a different one.
Oh, okay.
We've played a couple of legacy games in the past, but the one that we're actually playing right now is a game called The King's Dilemma. The King's Dilemma is a board game where essentially you are all noble houses in this kingdom, and you need to make choices on how the kingdom is going to run. Each game ends with the king either dying or abdicating or something like that. Each game ends with that, and so whoever has the most points at the end of that game, their family gets to marry into the royal line. And so the next game, the ruler is the king of house so-and-so, because you're all like specific houses that you've named and all that stuff. What's interesting is every house has things that they want to achieve, and you don't quite know how it's going to happen. So you're trying to go about like, okay, how do I achieve my goal? So what'll happen is you'll get a card, and each card will say, hey, this is the thing that is happening. There is a political marriage that's happening between a noble from our country and the country to the north. A bunch of people are protesting it because they don't like the princess. So do we stop the protest and allow the marriage to happen, or do we allow the protest to continue and stop the marriage? Mm. It's that sort of thing. And so then each person, each house will vote for whether they think they should do either A or B, because it's always a yes or no kind of choice. Do we do this or do we do this? And so everybody votes. What's interesting is the voting power is like a resource that you can gain throughout the game, but you are limited to your stock. And when the voting phase ends, you don't always get your voting power back. So you have to decide, is this the issue that I really want to invest all of my power on?
It's a very political game, huh? You're playing politics.
You're playing politics. You're also negotiating with everybody, because you will oftentimes be like, okay, I really want this to happen. How can I convince everyone else at the table to agree with me and to make this happen? So you'll try to talk and convince everybody else that, no, this is the correct thing. But again, each family has different things that they're trying to achieve. So for example, the family that I'm playing, their end goal is to find some kind of balance between faith and knowledge. Mm. Whereas there was another family, one that nobody was playing, that is like, stamp out heretical knowledge. So there's apparently some kind of knowledge that is heresy, and there's going to be a card that's going to come up at some point that's going to either say, do you destroy this heretical knowledge, or do you allow this thing to happen? But
do you know if your knowledge, the knowledge that you're collecting, is going to be heretical, or you don't know that?
I don't know that. My family's goal is just find balance between faith and knowledge.
Okay.
So whatever that means. And so we're just playing through the game, like flipping these cards, trying to decide what we're going to do about each of these events, and then go, I guess let's do this thing. And based on what choices you make, new cards will be added to the deck of events that could happen. And you can also need to add stickers to the board that will mark your family as being remembered for something. So, for example, Keith, in the first game that we played, did something which made everybody remember that he did something that risked the country's safety. It's like military strength. And his family had to endure that memory for like 6 games.
Whoa.
Because we never pulled up any cards that would like cover that sticker up until a long time. But his family was remembered for having put them at risk for so long. At the end of each game, based on where you are standing in that current game, you'll get certain amount of points. Prestige points is what they're called. And those points will help evaluate where you rank among the other noble houses in the full long-running game. I'm very intrigued to see where things go because we are trying to finish this out before one of our players disappears for a year.
Leaves the country. You're trying to finish the whole game?
Well, yeah, because to finish the whole game, there are 6 stickers that certain cards will tell you to uncover. There are 12 possible stickers. There are 6 that once the 6th one has been revealed, that's when the game ends. I'm just guessing, but I assume that of the 12, 6 are if you choose this path, and the other 6 are if you choose this path. And so based on that, I'm just curious on what's gonna happen, because I think the state of our kingdom will potentially change based on some of the overarching decisions that we've made. And I am very concerned about 1 or 2 of them. The actual game corner. I don't think I've talked about this yet, so correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
But I'm going to talk about one of the games that I actually have been playing recently. It's a game called Octopath Traveler 2.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I haven't heard of that one.
Oh, good. Octopath Traveler 2 is a very fun game that I have been playing recently. It came out on PlayStation. It's also on Switch, and I think also Xbox. So it is made in the style of the classic SNES kind of 16-bit graphic kind of feel, but it's done with high definition models to the point where it looks painted almost. And so it's just a very pretty game. But Octopath Traveler 2, one of the reasons I like it is because it is one of those games that has a very interesting story. So at the beginning of the game, you get to pick one of 8 characters.
8? As in an SNES game where you're picking Mario, Donkey Kong?
I
only play Mario Kart, so it's like that, I guess.
Kind of. Except this is a full RPG with storyline and things like that.
Okay.
So you pick one of 8 characters, and that is your first character who you are following their storyline of. And so you have like the dancer or the scholar or the hunter or the thief, and they're all these roles, all these classes, and you get to go and follow their storyline. And the thing about this game is, as you're following the storyline of that one character, you can then go and recruit the other 7. So you can flesh out your team with the full group. It's a very fun game with a lot of really interesting story mechanics and things like that. So the character I started my game with is the Scholar, who is also Octopath Traveler's version of essentially a wizard. His story opens with the fact that he is in jail.
Scholar starts in jail.
The Scholar starts in jail. He's been falsely accused of having murdered his wife and child by setting the house on fire with them inside.
Oof.
Yeah. Falsely accused, and he knows who actually did it. But his storyline starts with him on this prison island, and so he has to escape. And then the rest of his storyline is, I am going to find this man. I am going to find the man who killed my family, and I am going to murder him.
Okay.
Whether or not he succeeds in that, I don't know, because I haven't finished his storyline yet. I have been playing it very slowly because it's one of those games where I want to take my time with it, because it's that kind of fun game where you're just like, I want this to last forever. Once you've gone through the intro to his story, you can then go and explore the rest of the world while trying to get to this next part of his story, but you can also stumble across the other characters and recruit them to your team. So you can recruit the cleric. There's been an incident, and he is trying to investigate what caused it, and he thinks that there's some, shall I say, shady dealings going on. And so he's investigating that. There's the thief who's trying to break out of her enslavement to her Thieves Guild. And it's just a bunch of different characters like that who are all trying to work together for various reasons. Honestly, it is a very pretty game. It is a lot of fun. When you interact with people in the city, every character also has what's called a path action, which is some special way to interact with people. And everybody has two of these, one for during the day and one at night. So, for example, let's go back to the scholar. So during the day, the scholar can investigate or scrutinize people and get a little bit more information out of them. Whereas at night, because of his time in prison, he can mug people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, you're going through the town and you come across somebody who has a very fancy little sword in their inventory, and you can mug them for that sword. As you do.
I am looking at their site, and I get the graphics now. What you mean?
Yeah, it's like SNES graphics, but more watercolory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very pretty. I really like this game. It is one of those RPGs that can easily sink 80 to 120 hours in. Again, as one is wont to do.
Is it only available in Japanese?
Oh no, I have it in English.
I think because I'm in Japan, it's only coming up in Japanese.
That's probably it. No, I have an English version of it. Yeah, you just get a PS5 and I can lend it to you.
Yeah. You should have bought the Nintendo Switch one. No, it's okay. I don't think... Again, this is not my kind of game. Sorry.
Actually, I have Octopath Traveler 1 on the Switch.
Yes, in a cartridge, huh?
Yeah, I do, actually.
No, not my kind of game. Sorry.
No, actually, of the games that I have, I think the one that I think you would be most likely to like would be something like a Phoenix Wright, which is the Ace Attorney games.
Yes, I remember. Yeah, you talked about him earlier on. Yeah, that did seem that's more fun, puzzly.
It's a puzzle game. It's all about like talking to people and investigating, and then using logic to figure out, oh, this is who actually committed the crime. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree.
Yeah, I get it. And see, the problem is finding games like that. Most of the games like that I like are much longer than I think you would be willing to sink the time into.
I think you're right.
Because I know the amount of time that you want to dedicate to gaming.
Less than 5 minutes per day.
Yeah.
So Ryan, do I even need a second Kindle?
A second Kindle?
Right. Because I already have one, right?
Do you?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the reason why I wanted to have a second one was because I wanted to have two books open at the same time, because I'm using them as reference books.
Oh.
Because I have my devotion on one Kindle and the Bible background commentary. So I have that open, and then I have my Bible open. So I was just trying to have all of the books open at the same time. I can flip between them, but flipping between them is annoying, right?
Well, you could put one on your iPad.
I could, but the iPad is super slow. That's the problem. The problem is, and I realized this after I started using my Paperwhite again for the devotion, is that the Paperwhite actually opens books faster and then my 4th gen iPad mini, which is newer than the Paperwhite.
Well, that's because the Paperwhite does one thing.
Has one job. You have one job. Open up books. And it's true. It is faster, and it opens books faster than the iPad. And it's black and white and blah, blah, blah. Even with the whole screen blinky thingy, it's still faster. And that's why I was even looking at, thinking about, a Kindle like yours, which is still, 3 years older than mine. It's still going to open books faster. And if I just leave it on one book, it's still going to turn pages faster. But do I really need 2 Kindles, or should I just close a book and open a book and close a book and open a book? Because I'm not really reading a paragraph in one and then going back to the other, reading a paragraph in the other. I am not doing that. What do? I read the Bible, I read the commentary, and then I read my devotion in that order.
I don't do devotionals well.
Oh, yeah?
I don't like the feel most of them have.
Even in looking for devotionals for my daughters, you find a devotional that has you focus on 2 Bible verses, and then they have a whole page of text. I'm like, what's the focus here? Am I reading the Bible, or am I reading somebody who's the devotion thing? Like, that's the wrong balance. So my devotional is not that large.
Because of the person I am and the style of study I do, I actually like doing side by side, having a commentary and the Bible open at the same time. I want to be able to evaluate, especially with the version of the Bible that I have, being able to switch it into the Greek so that I can tell that, oh no, this commentary isn't just, blowing steam.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually what that word and that root actually are translated to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's that sort of thing. It's the fact that I want to double check to make sure that the thing that they're trying to teach is actually legitimately a thing they should be teaching, because that's the type of person I am.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm like, I'll read something and be like, are they really meaning that? Also, I'm an awful congregation member because I tend to do that with sermons too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do I really need 2 Kindles, Ryan?
What does your heart tell you?
My heart tells me I shouldn't be coveting more things.
But is it coveting if it's
for devotions? Sorry.
The idea of coveting is like wanting the newest thing or wanting something that somebody else has. Whereas what you are thinking about is, this will improve my life.
Yeah.
The question I think that you need to ask yourself is the improvement worth a mon?
No, and I think the answer really is no. That's why I wasn't really sad that I missed this Oasis. I mean, even yesterday, I was bidding on a Kindle. What is this? This is a Kindle Basic, 8th generation, something like that. Like, it's not new. This Kindle is worth 2,000 yen to me, and shipping was going to be 800 yen. So it's like, great. That means basically I'm willing to pay 1,200 yen. So, and it crossed 1,200 yen to 1,250. And you know what? I stopped. I was outbidding a guy in the last 5 minutes, right? It started real low. I mean, this Kindle was 500 yen in the last 10 minutes. And then I bid it up and bid it up. I was bidding up against another guy, and, he got it for 1,250. And am I sad? No. Because you know what? If I would have bid, 1,350 and been the winner of the bid, then he would have just bid me out again. And you know what? This is why I'm setting a limit, because we'll just keep going. And yeah, he got it for 1,250, but there's no saying that if I had bid to 1,350, he wouldn't have bid it up again. So I am not sad that he got it for 1,250. He can have it. I hit my limit because, you know what? I'll wait for another cheap one. I'm not in a rush.
All right. That was the question I had for you. What is the amount of improvement that this can give you worth to you?
I think that's the thing. I'm not really willing to spend more than 2,000 yen on this. Really. I mean, a Kindle Oasis I might have made an exception for because it's a Kindle Oasis. It will be more than what I have now.
Mm-hmm. It would be the replacement for the current Kindle rather than a supplement.
Right. So I would consider that. But as a secondary Kindle, I'm really not willing to spend more than 2,000 yen for. Ryan, you brought a fun drink today.
Yes, I saw this and went, okay, this is different.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw at our local grocery store a pomegranate mix drink.
Oh, that's right. It's a mix. Yeah, I forgot about that. It's got other fruits in there.
It's got other fruits in there, but it looks like the main flavor note is supposed to be a pomegranate.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other flavors in there, it looks like there might be some apple, some grapes.
So from California, pomegranate, and apples and grapes.
Yeah. So it is a mixed drink. It is 100% juice.
Yeah, interesting, right? 100% juice. So it's just sparkling.
Yeah. So none of this 5-1.
I guess the carbonation takes no percent.
Yeah.
Not exactly sure how that works, but that's okay.
Well, you just add carbonation to it.
Yeah, but of the volume of the bottle, the carbonation is a pretty big percent.
Yeah, but of the actual liquid itself, it's 100% juice.
Yes. Yeah.
That is the line I'm going with, and I'm sticking to it.
If that's what the line the marketers are going with too, Ryan. So, promising, right? I mean,
I hope so.
I think it has a high chance of being successful here.
How large is this bottle?
Oh yeah, that's right. It's a little tinier, 410.
410.
Mm-hmm. And it was not on the cheap side, was it?
No, it was not on the cheap side at all. That is an interesting smell.
Yes, it is a very interesting smell.
I am smelling the apple, though.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right, let's give it a taste. Strong pomegranate taste.
Yeah, I am still getting the other flavors mixed in. It's not like they're masking it.
Right. But they're background flavors, though. They're not overpowering the primary flavor.
Yeah.
But I would say that this does taste like 100% juice, too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just carbonated juice.
It's carbonated juice.
Which is not bad at all. It's got a thicker feel to it.
This is reminding me of when I was a kid, we used to get sparkling grape juice in bottles that looked like champagne.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so for New Year's, my folks would buy that for us,
So that you could celebrate.
So we could celebrate the new year.
Exactly.
And it was a sparkling grape juice, and I'm getting the same kind of feel for this.
Mm-hmm.
But I like it.
I think it's pretty good.
If I didn't know the price, I'd like it better.
I don't know the price. You never said. You just said it's more expensive.
Uh-huh.
At least I think you didn't.
I don't think I ever told you the actual price. You know what we normally spend on a drink?
Yeah.
So double that. And then once you've doubled that, maybe half again as much.
So
yeah, it was a pricey drink. It's good. It's good. Was it 2.5 good?
I'm not sure it's 2.5 good. Yeah, I feel bad saying that. I think the 100% juice actually makes it a little less intriguing to me because it's thicker. I think that's what I am not enjoying about it.
Oh, see, I like that. No, I think I can't think of anything besides mouthfeel. I think it's good.
I like the flavor, though.
At the end of the day, would I go out and buy this on a regular basis? No. I think it's a little rich for that. But it feels like a kind of special occasion-y kind of drink.
And it feels very satisfying. I mean, if you feel like you drank something. I think I'm going between 6 and 7. I think I'm going to go 7.
You're going with 7? I'm actually going to go with 8.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like it.
I think this is really good. Life-changing? No, but good. I'm still waiting for the elusive drink that's going to earn a 10.
Yeah. The yuzu cider was the highest, looks like. Anyway.
I think Scott brought us these, right?
Yes, Scott brought us these ones, I think. I'm not sure where he got them. At least he probably said when he gave them to me, but I think he gave them to me a while back, and we haven't gotten to them yet, sorry. So we have cassis KitKats. Although I do wonder, what does the chocolatory thing across the top mean?
I do not know.
Yep, me neither.
So I had to look up what a cassis is.
It is a blueberry type berry. It's not blueberry. It's another kind of berry. I think it's more sour. At least I think that's my understanding of it. I have not looked it up.
So cassis is a syrup made from black currants.
Oh, it's a syrup made from black currants. Oh, okay.
That's what I am seeing right here.
Oh, so it's not its own berry. I thought it was its own berry. I was confused.
But yeah, black currants is what I'm seeing. Huh. Yeah, so.
Ooh.
Whoa, that is a bright color.
It is a very purple bar. I was expecting a brown chocolate bar, right?
Uh-huh.
That they've just hidden the fruit inside. No, this is a choice.
The choice is purple.
Neon purple. It is a very purple bar.
We're talking Barney level.
Yeah, very close. Slightly on the lighter shade of a Barney purple. Yeah, yeah, very, very purple.
Wow.
All right, let's see. The taste is not as stand out as I thought it was going to be. I still taste it, but I thought it was going to be much more blatant.
I don't know. I got it pretty thoroughly in mine.
It comes later.
Yeah, it's not in the first bite.
It comes with the sweetness later.
Yeah, it's in the chocolate itself. It's not in the wafer part at all.
Ah, that's probably what it is. Yes, because I'm chewing the wafer, which is weird because often they put the flavor in the wafer too, right? I guess not every time, but still.
Yeah, well, not every time, and especially not for the chocolatier or chocolatory or whatever.
Yeah, that's actually a good hint, right? Yes, because this was made, they've mixed the flavor in with the chocolate as opposed to putting it in the wafer. So,
Welcome to the chocolatarium.
Yeah, it's like the sanitarium for chocolate. I like it, I think. I like cassis in general as a flavor. I think Goodness, am I going to give it another 7? Is it 7 and 7 today? I mean, I guess it's good stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say a 7. I was trying to decide whether it was 7 or if it was a 6 pointing up, but no, it's solidly a 7.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go, I'm going to have the second one too.
I
think it's it's a good flavor. It's not going to be my ultimate favorite, but it was a good one.
Yeah. If you're looking for the taste, it's in the chocolate itself, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. The second one was better.
Still at a 7 then?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'll leave it at a 7. This is a good one.
All right. So for the book that I had you read this week, at one point in the story, the main character, they just kind of drop everything and go on a journey into somewhere new. So that got me thinking, Nate. Assuming that money is not an option, or I mean, not a...
Assuming money is not an option. Yep. Real life. Okay.
Sorry. Assuming that money is not an issue and you can just drop everything and either go by yourself or go with your family and go on a little bit of a journey, where would you like to go?
I think I'm going to start with a place that I would go by myself. And if money was not an option or things were not an option, or if things could work out the way I wanted it to, I would try to go back to my grandparents' house where they lived in upstate New York. They don't live there anymore and they've already sold the house. So that's not, it's not really possible. But assuming everything was possible, I'd go back to my grandparents' house in upstate New York. It was just a very nice house that he had built, my grandfather had built, probably when I was in middle school. And I got to hang out there a bunch of summers. I went up and worked on my dad's cousin's farm. So that was fun. I liked where it was situated in a huge field of grass that they would mow for hay for cattle. It was like 100 meters back from the road with woods all behind it. It was just a very nice, peaceful place. And, if they actually had good internet up there, it would be a nice place to live. And they had enough internet for the times I was there, but it was nice and slow. But back then, the internet was not as big of a thing, I guess. It was enough to get emails and things, so it was fine. I really enjoyed that house and staying there, especially because often we'd be there with family, right? And that was a fun thing too. But even if I was there alone, I had a good time. One of the summers I had stayed there, I had even brought my Mac LC2, I think. I didn't even have it plugged into the internet. I think I was probably doing Sim Tower or things like that on it. Just having fun with little tiny games. Sim Tower, good game. Did I tell you I got Sim Tower working on the emulator on my computer?
Yeah, you did. You told me that you introduced it to your daughters.
Yes, that's right. I had introduced it to my daughters. And what's hilarious is I found my old Tower files, right? I still had them. I still had my save games and was able to launch them in the emulator. These files are like 30 years old. Oh my goodness. At least 25 years. At least 25 years.
Other, more important files have gotten lost to time, but not those.
Yes. Nope. My Sim Tower saved games are still there. You know what's sad, too? Jesus Freak had its 25th anniversary. Am I that old already? I guess it shouldn't be shocking that songs from my middle school years are more than 25 years old now. It should not shock me at these things.
Yeah, 25 years old.
Well, especially when I graduated college 20 years ago now, actually, if I think about it. I guess I should probably look up when my high school 25th anniversary reunion is going to be, because I might be home that summer, actually.
Oh, no. You could not drag me back.
So, yes, my grandparents' house up in upstate New York, very nice place.
All right, so for the first one that I'm going to talk about, I chose one that I could do by myself, or I could do with friends or family, depending on if they were interested in it. But partially, maybe this is due to the fact that there's something that I've been missing a lot lately. But I miss going to the theater. And by the theater, I do not mean the movie theater. I want to go and see some musicals. I want to go and see some plays. For the listeners out there, if I haven't mentioned it enough, I am a big fan of plays and musicals, and I love going to drama theater. The problem is, where we live, the theater around us, for the most part, is completely in Japanese, as it should be, because, we live in Japan. And the problem is, my level of Japanese comprehension is not to the level that I think I would get the subtle nuance that is in plays and theater. So what I would love to do as a trip is I would love to go either to downtown Chicago or to New York and go to Broadway, even spend a week in London and just hit up all the major plays and shows that are going on at the time. I would be open to any of those spots and just spending a week going to plays. I would love to do that. I was thinking about that this afternoon where I was going, what is it that I would really love to do if money wasn't an option? Wasn't an issue. Money is always not an option for me.
You're still stuck on this option thing, huh? Because money's always optional for you. Is that what it is?
No, money's not optional for me. Yeah, I keep saying option. Why am I saying option? Because I know money isn't an option. But yeah, if money wasn't an issue, I would love to spend some time either in Chicago or New York or London and just going to plays and musicals. And yeah, just that is what I would love to do.
Now I want to pick someplace with my family as a whole. And in reality, I think I wouldn't mind going anywhere with my family. I'm going to pick two. Can I pick two, Ryan?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to say places that we've had a very good time as a family. We've been many places, actually, and had quite a good time. But I think I'm going to say Disney, Tokyo Disney here. Or I'm going to say Guam, one of those two. And I feel sad that we have not yet gotten to go back to Guam as a family for a while, since the ticket prices have gone higher than I'm willing to pay. Although actually probably the biggest problem is I've been spoiled by quite cheap prices before the pandemic, but budget flights that flew in the middle of the night. But I got there for a very good price for all 5 members of my family, which was already basically like 3/4 of regular price. And now the tickets are probably more like 50% more than regular price and haven't even sunk anywhere near regular prices. So I am spoiled and not willing to pay more than regular price. Regular price is even too high. I'm spoiled. So in Guam, we actually have a great time because we just have fun swimming and we actually pick up a few things that we just can't get in Japan. We don't ever feel the need to get things. It's not like we need to have a trip to America, but it is just convenient every once in a while. And so it's kind of nice. Guam is a nice middle ground. Hawaii would probably be nice too. I haven't had a chance to go there. Guam is a very nice middle ground. And I like that Guam is not that popular, that it's actually a smaller venue kind of thing. I feel like if I go to Hawaii, I'll be overloaded with touristy stuff. And I think I would say Disney because I think one of the things that we've been doing more in the past few trips has been trying new stuff. I mean, we've been trying some new hotels recently because not always the same ones are cheaper. So that's been kind of fun just to try different hotels and doing different things. Like building our measure of success on different metrics. I think the last time we went was, okay, we had to at least do Haunted Mansion once. My youngest daughter wanted to do that. My oldest wanted to do one ride, and my other daughter wanted to do. So building a set of success matrix only on a small number of things, but just have a good time doing a small number of things, which I think has been my practice of trying to make our success matrices on small things, because I got too disappointed a few times by setting too high levels of success. But, having a better time by just, spending time on a few specific things. And these things generally don't take up all the time of our day anyway, so we can just have fun doing other things that aren't necessarily things we have to do. And I think that relaxing works better too. Now that our girls are older, I think we're able to do that better. And it's not like we're spending tons and tons of money to come to Japan to do this, right? Like, I think that's where I think my stress gets too high, is we're spending boatloads of money to go to a place for 5 days and we have to do everything in that time. I think my stress level would get too high. I think because Disney is in my area and now we can just visit it and do one or two things, it's quite nice, especially because we have done most of it now.
The other one that I thought about mentioning here is more along the lines of somewhere where I would just love to visit because I've never been. There is a small itch in my head that would love to just drop everything and go and visit this place. The place that I'm actually thinking, at least has been in my head, that I would love to visit is actually Scotland.
Ooh, I was thinking of picking Europe stuff in general, but I think you've made a wise choice.
I thought about all the places that I could visit and all the things that I would love to see. And I think of all the places that I have not been, that I have heard about, have enough things that I am very interested in going and seeing, especially with the things I have heard about it and kind of the general feel of the area based on those things that I have heard about. Number one place that I always come back to for wanting to visit would be Scotland. So of all the places that I haven't been, especially in thinking of going someplace in Europe, that was the one that really stood out in my mind. Not least of which because I recently thought I could potentially go there and didn't.
Yeah, I was going to go there,
yeah. Yeah. It is what it is. But yeah. Those are some places that I'd love to go and visit, maybe one day. When money isn't an issue and, we've made tons of money off
something.
12 million schools all subscribing to Learn or Build.
12 million? That'd be hard. Even if I got a few hundred, that would be rough already.
Well, that's when you start hiring minions. All right, so this week I had you read a book. And the book was not too long.
No.
In fact, it was what most people would consider a novella, but it was another Becky Chambers book.
Yes, that was the good part.
I'm a little hesitant about the way you phrased that.
Let's get into the... Yep.
Let's get into it. So the book that I had Nate read this week was A Psalm for the Wild Built, which is book 1 of the Monk and Robot books. Book 2 will be coming up in a future episode. But for now, we're just going to talk about A Psalm for the Wild Built. So, A Psalm for the Wild Built centers around the character of Sibling Dex, who is the titular monk of the Monk and Robot series. They decide one day that they wanted to change things up and become a tea monk, where they serve tea and just listen to other people's problems. After several years of this, they suddenly realize that they're still not quite content. There's something missing. They want to hear crickets. So they go out and look for the one place that they remember hearing about these crickets. On their journey, they come across a robot. It's been centuries since the robots became sentient, and they went off into the wilderness. But this robot asks Sibling Dex one question. What do people need? And I think that's about where we'll
pick up.
So, like I said, I was a little hesitant based on your response. All right, so let's just dive in. What did you think about this?
I thought it was okay. I don't know. I think I had a few just small niggling problems. I think one of them was, I think I never really grew to like sibling decks. I'm not sure why, and maybe it's just me. Could just be a me problem, that's for sure. But I think I never grew to like sibling decks. I was never wanting to see... Sibling decks just didn't grow on me for some reason. And I think it's probably just me. But Mosscap was great. Definitely liked Mosscap.
Yeah.
And when Mosscap came and said, I want to know what humans need, I'm like, okay, settle in. Here's the Becky Chambers part. And then it kicked into high gear with Becky Chambers, right? Like, oh, what do humans need? Let's talk about what you think life is. Why did you choose not to be alive forever, right? Like, just great stuff, right? That just kicked into high gear, and I was like, yes, this is great. So I think two things. One is that, I never really grew to like sibling decks, and the book was just too short. When we meet Mosscap, we're already, what was it, a third half into the book already. And then by the time where we're starting to, settle into the Becky Chambers parts, where we're just sitting and talking about life or building the world through these conversations, we're already 2/3 of the way into the book. It's like, wait, there's only a little bit left, and this is the good part. So I think that's my problem. It's not bad. It was a good book.
It just cut off earlier than you would have liked it.
Right. The good parts, I would think, are still to come, like where we're just sitting and talking on the road. Again, that's where Becky Chambers shines, right? Let's do nothing and talk. Okay. Please, can I have some more of that?
Yeah, it's called A Prayer for the Crown Shy. Some more is coming.
Good. That's what I felt like. Compared to Becky Chambers' other novella, that I've read anyway, I think she has more. But anyway, the other one that we read was it To Be Taught If Fortunate?
See, I felt like To Be Taught If Fortunate was a much longer story, though. Because I thought that was more novel length-ish. Maybe not novel length, but...
Yeah, I think they consider it a novella. But I think...
But it's definitely... This feels like a real quick read, whereas that one felt like a little bit more substantial.
I think so. And it had a more beginning, middle, and end. Or definite scene changes with whenever they're changing planets, right? And they knew they were visiting 4 planets, and here the 4 planets were visiting, and scene change, right? Where, this one had an end. They got to the place. Like, that was the goal, right? So they met the goal.
So I will say that for me, I liked sibling decks, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of that had to do with the fact that I saw a lot of the worst parts of myself in them. The uncontentedness in certain aspects, the wanting to just get up and go, the nothing quite ever feels like you've figured it all out kind of mentality, and you're constantly thinking and brooding about all that. That sort of stuff feels like I'm looking in a mirror. Because I have been told that I can be introspective to a detriment. Come on, you know me well enough at this point. How often have I brooded about things that are completely unimportant?
Yeah. I can definitely see the similarities between you and sibling decks. So this was an identifiable character for you.
Yeah, so those sort of things were more identifiable for me. And while that is true, I also fully agree. Mosscap, excellent character. Yeah.
Just wonderful.
In all ways wonderful. I think that their relationship in Volume 2 evolves even better, especially because they're trying to figure out, okay, where do we go from here? How do we ask this question of humanity?
Right. And don't get everybody's individual needs.
Honestly, I think even though it's a little ways off, I would just read it, because if you're feeling right now like this wasn't enough, dive into Volume 2.
Yeah, I can put it next to my list.
Yeah.
That is the thing. I needed more. I probably figured that, the next book will give more.
I felt very much that A Psalm for the Wild Built was the introduction to this new universe. Where in the Wayfarer series, she took A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet to flesh out that entire universe. She tried to do the same kind of fleshing out the universe for this one planet in this novella. And I think she's able to build that world but unfortunately the novella just wasn't enough to build the world and get into the things that we all love about Becky Chambers books, those conversations. I personally really loved this book and I really enjoyed it. And so It sounds like you liked it, but it wasn't enough for you to love it.
I guess what I'm saying is, it's not like I hate Sibling Dex or anything, but Sibling Dex was not enough to draw me into the book. And since Sibling Dex is the primary character for most of the book, the beginning part was just not terribly interesting to me.
Yeah.
But it didn't dissuade me. I mean, even if I didn't have to read this for the podcast, I wouldn't have stopped reading there.
If anything, you would have read through it and gone, well, I liked her other stuff more.
Right. Even with The Long Way to a Small Language Planet, there's that engineer guy, I forget his name now, but the algist who discovers a secret about himself halfway through the book that is devastating. That he's not a likable character either, but he's a good character.
So you're saying that if the entire book had been about him, you probably wouldn't have been like, yeah, this is keeping me going.
Yeah, right.
Because Dex is the only character, like, for a large portion of this book. All the other characters are almost setting because they stay there while they keep moving, yeah.
I guess what I was also saying is the engineer is a good character, a great character. He's not something I'm identifying with, not somebody I'm connecting to, but he's a great character. And same with Sibling Dex. Sibling Dex is a great character. They are just not bringing me further along in the book. They are a great character. They're not enough of a draw.
Gotcha.
Again, once they're with Mosscap, because that's what I like. Now we've got a great character playing off a great character, which is enough to keep me going in the book. Even if I don't connect with the characters. Like, I don't connect with Mosscap either, really.
What?
I'm not a robot, even though I probably seem like one sometimes. But them playing off each other is great, right? I mean, that's excellent. Yeah, so even if it was a book just about Mosscap, well, you see, but I think Mosscap I definitely don't identify with, so reading a book about Mosscap is quite interesting probably, right? Maybe it's because Dex is really similar to me in some ways. Anyway, but yeah, them together is great because they're both great characters.
Becky Chambers writes character conversations and character drama really well.
Right.
And so what you were hoping for was more of that.
Yeah, more drama. Actually, you're right. And more drama in Becky Chambers is people sitting down and talking, right?
Yeah, again, character drama.
Yeah. But even it's societal reflection, right? I mean, which is great. So yeah.
I feel like you'll get more of that in volume 2.
Good.
Because the book opens with the two of them together. So you're not coming into a story where you only have one character to connect to.
Yeah, so it was good. It was enjoyable. I liked the travel.
I really, really liked that final scene on top of the mountain in the monastery. Mosscap is just trying its best to care for Sibling Dex. That entire scene is just beautiful because Mosscap is trying to help Sibling Dex in every way possible. And Sibling Dex wants none of it, but still gets like dragged along kicking and screaming into Contentedness.
Yes. Well, I think that's what's funny is like at that point Sibling Dex is beginning to buy into Mosscap's trying, right? I mean, earlier on it's like, why are you here? But I think by that final scene though, they're like, okay, I can really see that you're actually really trying to help me and to be my friend. I think that's great too, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the character drama. That's the stuff we're loving about Becky Chambers.
That's the stuff we're here for.
Yep.
Just nom 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 nom. Give me more of that.
So, yep. And this book, I mean, definitely the last third was full of it. So that was good. Just learning about the world. And I think what's great too is that, I mean, I love how basically Becky Chambers is hiding our preconceptions also in what Sibling Dex is preconceiving, even though our worlds are different than Sibling Dex. And then Mosscap is like, oh, you believe that? No. I mean, that's great stuff. It's like, yeah, I'm along with Sibling Dex. What are you talking about? Why am I crazy too? No, that's not how you do it. That's not what you're thinking. It's basically, yeah, you're a preconception also. Let me just sneakily put what you as a human on Earth preconceive also. And then let me just, stomp on that with this robot. That's great stuff, right? It's not even trope things, right? It's why would you not want to live forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, no, it's good stuff. I mean, I guess that one's a little bit more tropish, but still.
Because that's not natural.
Right.
See, that's the thing. All those conversations, so mwah.
Mm-hmm.
So, what we're saying is, if you haven't read anything from Becky Chambers,
Yep. Go back and start from the beginning.
Seriously, if you haven't read anything by Becky Chambers and you've listened to this many times that we've talked about a Becky Chambers book, you should really read one.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
In my opinion, I think this is good. I do see where Nate is coming from, that it might be a hard jumping into point.
Right. Well, and I'm having problems verbalizing the nuance of it not being my exact favorite book, right? It's a good book. I'm nuancing that it's not my favorite book.
Yeah.
But it's a good one. It's a good one. Go read it.
Yeah, I would say that if this is your first experience with Becky Chambers, I would say be ready to immediately dive into volume 2 to get a more in-depth look at her style of writing. Because if you're stopping at volume 1, I can see where one could say that it isn't enough.
Yeah.
I think it has a complete story here, but because there is that world building and the character drama, you want so much more of that character drama that I could see that you would want to dive straight into book 2.
You had mentioned that maybe we should have done both books.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you had mentioned this a while back, so I had thought about it still, but I think this book is still good on its own.
Yeah.
And I think it's Becky Chambers, so I think let's give this book its airing and let's give the next book its airing, right? So
yeah,
we could have. I think that probably would help, but at the same time, this book is still good, so let's leave it that way.
My personal feeling is it's an excellent book, and I was thrilled to have read it. Let's just say it. It won the Hugo Award.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason it won the Hugo Award. It's good. So, what I'm saying is, if you haven't read anything by Becky Chambers, read it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have read other things by Becky Chambers, read it. I think I've made it clear that I think people should read it.
It was the last one to win the Hugo Award.
Yeah.
Oh, it beat Elder Race. Interesting.
For a novella? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't read that one yet. It's sitting in my queue.
Gonna have to keep reading some of these books.
Yeah. You know, I keep trying to get you to read more books. One of the things that I found interesting that I think that you didn't mention quite yet, part of it is covered in more detail in the next book, but I loved the different styles of cities that Sibling Dex visits.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
They talk about a few of the cities in this book, but in the next book, they're going to go into more depth about like the different ways different cities have grown up.
Okay.
And it's really interesting. I really like this world that she's built here. And I think it's a fun world. And like I said, it's a good book and I really like it. And, you know, I really just want to know, what do humans need?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what humans need?
Love.
Love is all you need?
There you go. Love is all you need. All right. I have something very special for you next time, Ryan.
You have something very special for me? So we're reading the 5th season.
We'll get to that later. No.
No, we're going to read the 5th season. That's what I'm saying right here.
Before we get to more books.
No, I'm saying the 5th
it's on
season.
The list, but it's not next. We're going to get to Top Gun Maverick, Ryan. Top Gun Maverick.
But is it really the Top Gun?
It's a classic movie of the modern age.
A modern classic that came out last year?
That's the worst phrase ever. I love it when people say that. How can it be a classic movie? It just came out last year. Anyway. No, it's a good movie that came out last year. So I'm going to force you to watch it. I'm going to chain you to your chair. Are you going to watch it in one sitting, Ryan?
Maybe.
I watched a movie recently in 3 sittings. It worked out well. It was okay. So, yep, it'll be good, Ryan. You will enjoy it, I am sure.
Do I have to?
You don't have to.
So you're saying I can skip straight to 5th season?
No, you don't have to enjoy it.
Oh.
That's what I mean. But I think you've set your expectations low enough that I think it will at least surpass them.
You do realize that a wounded gazelle could pass by the bar that I've set.
Well, here's the thing. I completely agree with you that the first movie stinks. I got to tell you, I did show this movie to my 2 oldest daughters. I did explain to them. No, actually, I found a YouTube video that said, okay, here's what happened in the first movie so that you can enjoy the second movie. And yeah, that's all you really need to know about the first movie. It's like, just watch this 5-minute YouTube video about the first movie and then you're fine. You don't need to know that there's a first movie. Just forget the first movie exists, okay? Just
I try my best to.
Okay, good. Forget the first movie exists and then just watch this movie and picture it like, let me give you an analogy. You've seen Mary Poppins Returns.
Yeah.
Mary Poppins Returns is much like the first movie, right?
Yeah.
It's not excellent. Mary Poppins Returns, it's good. Brings the good stuff from the first movie and does it again. I would say that if Top Gun 1 was actually a good movie, the analogy would be the same. Does that make sense?
I get what you're saying, but that still means that you're presenting me an okay movie.
But I would say that Mary Poppins Returns is more than okay.
Oh, yeah, I would agree with that. But, based on your verbiage there, it sounded like this was okay.
Oh, sorry. But I would say that Top Gun Maverick does a very good job of taking the actual good things from Top Gun and making them better.
Well, let's leave it off there so that I can actually watch the movie.
I'm just trying to get you to acceptance.
There's no getting me to acceptance. That's a stage of grief far too far away right now.
Not grief. Just acceptance that it will be okay to watch the movie. That you will be okay on the other end.
Acceptance is a stage of grief. It's just the last stage.
I agree with you there. I'm just saying that you will survive, Ryan. It will be okay.
That's debatable.
And that you might actually like it.
At
least more than passing.
So the question is, will I like it more than Kalpis? We hope you found something nice about this hill that we were willing to die on, and we appreciate all of our listeners coming along on this journey with us. But have you ever thought to yourself, hey, I really like these guys, and I wish there was just some way I could support them? You can. Visit myhilltodieon.com/members for more details. But what does it mean to be a member? Well, for the low price of $2 a month or $15 a year, you can help support this podcast, and by doing so, you'll get access to the members-only Not My Hill podcast, where we discuss things that are not really hills we'd be willing to die on. We have very strong feelings about them, but as the title says, they're definitely somebody else's hill. In addition to that, you'll also get access to the suggestion form where you can make suggestions for our Listener Hill episodes, where we will watch, read, or climb up a hill that you're willing to die on, and we'll talk all about it. But know that the conversation doesn't have to end here. The discussion can continue with us through Reddit at the subreddit My Hill to Die On, or by contacting us through email, which is, to no one's surprise, myhilltodieon@gmail.com. And finally, we upload all of our episodes to our YouTube channel, which is also named, say with me now, folks, My Hill to Die On.
Good.
Anything else we're forgetting? No, I don't think so.
I think that will edit to a good episode. Sorry, I give you all the hard work.
I get some fun ones. What can I say? If we had like the taste manufacturer, the guy who is like, I'm the one who makes up all the taste, then yeah, sure.
Head chef.
Yeah, the head chef of Kalpis. Oh, what a low bar that must be.
The head chef of McDonald's was on a podcast I heard once, and it's like, wait a minute, McDonald's has a head chef? I mean, of course they do.
Yeah, somebody's got to decide what's going to go on their teriyaki burger.
Yeah, their teritama, which I was just seeing at Aeon Mall today. The teritama. Which bacon bits are they putting on today? Learner Build, as fun as it was, or is, it's talking about CSS, which is something that you kind of have to see.
What?
I'm not sure I want to explain sibling selectors on a podcast. So, should we clap at the beginning, Ryan?
What? That's crazy talk there.
Alrighty, ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. Alrighty. You start today, episode 73.
Ugh. 73. I feel like we just released 70.
We did just release 70. What would you do winter break or spring break?
Spring break?
You just hung around?
For the most part, I went hiking one day, but that was about it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you said that. Yeah.
Nothing major happened there.
Mm.
I ended up stumbling across Moomin Land.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did not even realize that it was out there until all of a sudden I was like, oh, there it is. That's the board game that I've been playing lately. It's a fun game, though.
Mm-hmm. It is great that there are different games. Speaking of different games for everybody.
Were you playing Disco Zoo while I was explaining this?
No, I was actually editing pictures.
I only ask because I was re-listening to that part recently where you say, oh yeah, I just play Disco Zoo when you talk about other games.
I'll be upfront. The joke is Ryan plays games and I play Disco Zoo, right? I mean, that's what the joke is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't play games. I play Disco Zoo, which is a game, but I play one game.
Uh-huh. I think I'm going to refill my water because, again, like I said, super dry throat today. And I'm only slightly dying.
Yep. Slightly dying. Mostly dead?
Well, just don't go through my pockets and look for a loose change.
Not yet, okay.
I haven't read that one yet. It's sitting in my queue.
But here's the thing, right? To be taught a fortunate lost to how you lose the time war. I mean, come on, that's really the crime right there. Sorry. I think we mentioned it when we talked about it back then too.
We did mention that one before.
That's just sadness right there. I feel bad for you, Becky Chambers. I'm sorry. You should definitely have beaten This Is How You Lose the Time War.
This Is How You Lose the Time War is an excellent book. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't like the poetryness of it.
It's beautifully written.
That may be true. But where'd all the sci-fi go? Sorry.
It's in the subtext.
Yeah. To be taught a fortune, it had it right there. And the character drama right there.
And screaming leeches.
Yeah, but did you see the emotional toll it took on that girl?
All right. We're getting off of the thing that we're actually talking about here today.
We can agree to disagree, Ryan. We can agree to disagree still.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's the fact that you disagree and then keep twisting that knife.
Yep. Good stuff, Becky Chambers. Hey, speaking of this, what is it? I scrolled up. I lost it now. Emperor's Soul was a winner back in 2013.
Way back when.
Love is all you need. You should finish with that. That was good. That and many more things, but still, anyway. Optional money.
Money's not an option.